Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared.
And I'm Lad.
And today we are finally reviewing Spider-Man No Way Home. And oh my gosh, was this probably the best MCU movie they have come out with ever. And that's including Endgame, even if you've watched all 200 MCU movies at this point, it feels like.
Is it that including Iron Man 2 also? Because that's pretty high up.
But that's just Lad. That's just Lad's preferences. So, Lad and I are huge Spider-Man fans. We grew up with the Spider-Man movies. Lad more on the Andrew Garfield side, myself more on the Tobey Maguire side. I know I'm dating myself, but whatever. I'm the co-host. I can do that. But so we were naturally pretty hyped about this movie. And here's the problem. Here's why we were a little apprehensive. Spider-Man movies don't have a good track record of third movies.
Yeah.
In that the one for the first trilogy was not that good. The one for the second group is non-existent. So we were like, which is the tragedy. But so we walked into this like cautiously optimistic because based on the trailer, it looked dope. So walked into this, and oh boy, was I proven wrong. This movie's great.
Yep. It's really fantastic.
All right, Lad, you're more of a Spider-Man fan than I am. I mean, I like him, but you seem more of like the Spider-Man nerd guy than I am. That's why I want to start with you first instead of giving your thoughts on the movie. Give me like your general thoughts, and then we'll go into spoilers. By the way, this whole review is going to be a spoiler. You have been warned.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
do not put in the again. We're going to give you two warnings now, and when we get to the heavy spoiler area.
Yeah. So we're going to start with the spoiler-free review. It's a fantastic movie. Go see it right now. The end. Okay, now spoilers start right now. That was your.
I don't want to see you guys commenting below that we spoiled the movie. We're giving a spoiler. Have I warned you enough? Okay, good. Now, Lad, give me your thoughts on this movie.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable movie. Just continuing the story of Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Like immediately you're continuing it. Right. I was honestly surprised with how immediate the movie starts off.
Right. Like the explosive energy when the movie starts was great. Like we already started off like at a high. Sometimes the movie starts off slow and starts to ramp up with an action scene, but there were big stakes going into the movie, and it lived up to the hype right at the very beginning. Just the craziness of seeing Spider-Man's identity revealed to the world. So many good moments in the movie we're going to talk about that were really, really fun. And it was good. It was really great seeing everything in it.
Yes. So transitioning to me. So as someone that likes Spider-Man but is less of a fan, oh my gosh, was this movie makes me want to read Spider-Man comics so much so that I plan on going to my local comic book store and picking up Spider-Man trades. I'm doing it. But
Spidey.
Yes, Spider-Man. So there's so much in this movie to unpack. So this may be a long one. So just bear with us. But general thoughts. Wow. This is the first good third Spider-Man movie we've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's already beating even pre-pandemic records. That is that right there is like, because the last movie to perform this well was Avengers Endgame, and it's already neck and neck with Endgame.
Yeah. No.
Can you imagine if it outdoes Endgame?
No, that'd be insane.
It also kind of outdoes. So a lot of the more social justice lean Marvel movies like Shang-Chi and Eternals have not done so well in the box office, even Black Widow, and that's been blamed on like the pandemic. It's a pandemic market. If Spider-Man is beating even pre-pandemic records, doesn't that kind of destroy that argument?
Kind of.
Yeah, because it's doing fantastically. It's like it's doing better than it would even in the normal movie time period.
True.
So I find that pretty interesting. So anyway, going into the spoiler part, we're gonna basically go through the general events of the movie. So we get the reveal that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. He has the reaction, he hides, and I love how he gets back and Happy and Aunt May just broke up, which was one of the most funny scenes. And he gets in and he's like closing all the windows and everything.
Yeah.
And he sees on TV. And then the first part of this movie, which blew my mind, was he meets with his lawyer and the cane comes down. And it's freaking Netflix Daredevil.
Yep. Right. I know.
Oh my gosh.
It was a big moment. Like, I have not actually even watched the series, but I know of him. I know he has a big following, and there's the question of, is it canon technically?
I think this answer
is. Like, now we see him here. And he was really really cool character in that one. In that, like, he was like a 1-minute scene, but he really stole the room when he was there.
He's Daredevil because he catches the brick and it's like, they're like, how'd you do that? He's like, I'm a really good lawyer. I love that. I love that scene. I was telling Ryan, it reminded me of in Justice League where Batman goes to Bruce Wayne. So your suits may have the same material of the space shuttle. And then Flash is like, I do very competitive ice dancing.
Yep.
I was like, yes. Because that's another character that was like, I may not be in this movie. We'll see. Yes.
Yep. No, that definitely lived up to the hype. Just that one scene was so great. Like how he's telling, Peter that, like, you may have done, you dodged your legal troubles for now, but there's still a court of a public opinion, and he has to be careful. And then the brick comes through the window, right? But I like how he was telling Happy that, like, since he's, connected with Stark Industries and he's kind of like control some stuff, that he needs a lawyer because he's going to be getting hit with all these court cases.
And because because Peter's a minor, there's not real.
Yeah.
That was so good. So anyway, moving on, it establishes what I like about this movie also did is spend some time showing the effect that the reveal has on those closest to Peter. Aunt May having to move to an apartment. MJ and Ned having to not get into the college of their choice because being associated with Spider-Man and all that.
Yep. I love. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I like at their school, like, they have the police officers to make sure that there's no rioting and that he's allowed free education because legally he isn't in trouble, but there's still people that consider him wrong. But how his teachers that we've seen in other movies are like,
this is where we build heroes, where we make heroes. I was like, somehow I knew it. And then that one dude,
the gym
teacher is like, Mysterio was right.
Yeah, like like Spider-Man's back. I like that. Like how he agrees with it. And the other teachers are like big fans of me. Or you can just swing through the hallways, whatever you want to do, because we all know. It's just like so funny.
This is where we each make heroes. And I was like, oh my god.
It's like so funny.
And they made a shrine to Peter Parker.
Yeah. That was like really funny, and like that's senior year starting off, so it's like really funny to see kind of like the funny side of all this chaos that's happening, So I got a question for you. Like, if Peter's identity was just released to the world, like it leaked out online or something, or Mysterio just reveals that the identity without being framed for murder, just like his identity gets put out there, do you think all this would be happening quite the same? Like obviously people hate him because he was a murderer, but do you think a lot of his world would be upside down still just with his identity revealed?
Yep. Because guess what? Happened in Civil War, the comic series. Because remember, and we covered this series on the show, he reveals his identity to the public and says, hey, I'm registering, I'm working with Iron Man. I'm Peter Parker. You saw what happened. Aunt May got freaking shot.
Oh boy.
And then we got into the completely BS storyline where he sells his marriage to the devil.
Yeah, that's true. That was a bad move, Peter. The question is, like, and the thing is, in the MCU, all the rest of the heroes have public identities. Spider-Man's the only one with like a hidden identity, really.
Yeah, I know that. That's why. Well, because here's the thing. Honestly, you can't have Spider-Man have a public identity. It's
Yeah,
a different situation than Tony Stark or Steve
right.
Rogers or Sam
Yeah,
Wilson. I'm like,
they're
yeah,
different things.
you
Like,
have to.
yeah,
Part of the Peter Parker charm of Spider-Man is the same reason why it makes no sense why Bendis, because he's Bendis, reveals Superman's secret identity to the world. You just took away half of what that makes that character so awesome.
yeah. No, that's true. That's true. But I guess we'll continue through some other great parts of it, because then we see, you know, he's, they didn't get into MIT. That was their dream school,
So
and then
he goes to Strange, and so first off, I love he opens it up and it's like completely like blizzard, and then I love how they answered a little quick question I had. Stephen Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme anymore because of a technicality, because he was dusted for 5 years. So Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme, and they sort of changed the dialogue and everything from the trailer, because in the trailer they're like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. Don't do anything stupid. And this one he's like, don't involve me, guys.
yeah, Wong. That's what kind of like irresponsible Wong is, the Sorcerer Supreme. He should have been more like, don't cast that spell like in the trailer, but in here he's like, just don't get me involved. He just leaves.
And I love how, so he tells him, okay, I can do the spell that will clear everyone that will make sure no one knows Spider-Man's Peter Parker, which is like the comic book. And I love how Peter keeps progressively adding on. Okay, so he can know, she can know, she can know, she can know. And Strange is like, oh my gosh, make up your freaking mind, son.
Yeah. I like
screws
how,
up.
like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like how at first it seemed like what we saw in the trailer, that it was just immediately going to explode and chaos was going to happen. But I like how at first he's like, okay, fine. He adds one, then he adds another, and it's starting to get more difficult, but he keeps going. I like how they built it up, because in the trailer it seemed like it was immediate.
And then when the thing explodes and you see like the multiverse, I like how you see like the silvery outline of like the lizard and everything. So they're kind of showing them being brought in.
Yeah.
So it ends, and I love how Peter goes, okay, I got to call the school. Maybe I can call them. And actually, Strange is like, well, what did they say when you like called them and like appealed the decision, said, hey, don't hold this against my friends. And then Peter's like, oh, I guess I could have called them. And then I love Doctor Strange like, you mean to tell me that you could have called them and appeal this position, appeal their admission decision before you came here and told me to screw with reality? Is that what you're telling me right now? And then he goes, call me sir.
Yeah, call me sir. Yeah, I love that running line where he kept having called different things throughout the movie.
That was like one of my favorite Doctor Strange lines ever.
Yeah.
That was so cool. All right.
Yeah.
So he leaves. So he goes and finds the admissions person. And first off, he's in the Iron Spider suit, and then it has the wings. I think this is the first time we've seen the Iron Spider suit with the flying wings.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
And I was like, okay, that's a cool detail. I got the feeling that would be like a consistent thread that Tony would put in the suits from the one he had in Homecoming to now, because he would need that. And plus, it's a direct reference to his first Spider-Man suit in the comics from Amazing Fantasy 15. But and then we get like everyone's running out of the cars. So, actually, wait. I'm gonna rewind this. I like how he just walks up to the car and just knocks on the window, and then she's like, and he's like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then he appeals the decision, and I love. I'm sorry. Go ahead, lad.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
And then we get like a rumbling on the bridge. Actually, first his spider sense goes off, and then everyone's running. And then we get the arms, we get the Doc Ock reveal, which I knew was coming, but still it was like, it's Alfred Molina.
I know. I have such a connection with Spider-Man 2 and Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, because I as a kid, I never really watched the Tobey Maguire movies, but I would see parts of it from my parents. And watching like Doctor Octopus was so amazing. I loved the robotic arms, like the character. I remember seeing him sacrifice himself at the end of the movie. So I have this this thing in the back of my head where I remember this, like this awesomeness. And then seeing him come back in this movie was so amazing. As like he was the first big reveal. Like they get a lot of focus in the first trailer. Also, like he was a big focus here. Seeing him come in,
actually,
and
no. Technically, the first reveal was the pumpkin bomb.
The pumpkin bomb. Yeah, technically.
He was the first guy we actually saw.
The first guy we actually saw. He was there, and that was incredible. You know,
I wanted to ask you, as a Spider-Man fan, real quick, what do you think of his? What did you think of his portrayal as Doc Ock? Period in Spider-Man 2 and in this movie.
It's fantastic. It's really captured a lot of the essence of Doc Ock. There's a lot of different ways you can portray the character. Like I've really enjoyed some portrayals in the animated shows and in the comic books, but like the one that's done in the movies is such a fantastic portrayal. He makes it his own character, and it's really great. Yeah,
so we get the fight with Doc Ock and Spider-Man. And then we get
with the robot arms. They both have 4 robotic limbs, so it's awesome battle.
That was so cool. He breaks out the arms. He's like, "What did you say?" And I'm like, because this is something I wanted to see. And then I was like, "Oh, they have to," because when we saw the arms, because there was a scene in the trailer where the arms come out, and I'm like, "Oh, they better have them fight with the forearm," because that just seems like a missed opportunity if they don't do that, right?
Yeah, I know, because like Doc Ock has the 4 robotic limbs, and then Spider-Man has 4 limbs with his Iron Spider suit. So it's like actually be so awesome to see them go head to head.
Here's the other part. Since Doc Ock was involved, I was getting major Superior Spider-Man vibes from that scene. Now, particularly now, because it's involving Doc freaking Ock.
Yeah.
So they fight. And then we get that scene where Doc absorbs the nano robots. But here's where it's cool. Here's where it goes beyond the trailer. Peter actually takes control of his arms.
Yes.
I did not see that coming out. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. That was like it was like they made it a little funny, a little jokish, but also it made sense. And it was like, oh, wait a second. Those are robot arms, right? And he just like controls it with his tech gauntlet because he has so much more advanced technology with Iron Man.
And then we get the whole "you're not Peter."
Yeah, that was a big hint that obviously
the multiverse and all that.
We're gonna see like the proper Peter, and I love how like when he has control of the arms, Doc Ock is completely useless. Like he literally can't do anything.
I know. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's actually really that's a ding on Doc Ock. So then, he wraps him up, and the head of the school is like, "You're a hero. I'm gonna give you guys a shot." So I'm like, okay, that's cool. He feels good about himself. And then he gets the spider sense again. Then you hear it, and then I love the way they did it from a sound perspective. All you heard was, you didn't hear the laughing yet. You just heard ting, ting,
clink,
ting,
clink, clink,
the
clink.
thing comes down, and then as you see the pumpkin bomb, that's when you hear the ha 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 ha. That's my Green Goblin laugh. So
that was pretty good, actually.
I'll have Tyler on the show sometime because he does a fantastic Goblin laugh. But anyway, then we see Green Goblin. Yeah, I was like, oh, as someone that remembers vividly that movie, going to the theater and watching that movie when it first came out, that was my first superhero movie, period. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, my first superhero movie, period. So seeing that, and another scene later in the movie, but we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Got kind of emotional there because, again, this is partly because of this movie.
Yeah. So Goblin is like a big thing to you, like the classic, the original Goblin.
Particularly that Goblin, just see that costume, the glider. It felt like I was watching Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. By the way, quick thing, I just wanted to this is really off topic, but I had to say it to make sure I say this to you before I forget. The same guy that directed this movie, lad, is directing Fantastic Four.
That's true. Yes.
So we're in for a treat. So anyway, back to the movie. So I thought they were going to actually have a fight, but no, Doctor Strange portals him to his dungeon where
Right.
actually I thought the lizard was going to attack Peter, but then he's like, he's behind a thing. He's basically behind a magic barrier. So then we get the whole story about Doctor Strange saying, well, when he screwed up the spell, anyone that knows that Peter Parker, I love how they explained it more than the trailer. Anyone who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Because immediately, here's where my mind went going into this movie. Oh, that they could bring in the X-Men this way because it's just everyone's leaking through the multiverse. But I'm like, the X-Men don't necessarily know Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so that's off of that. But and then I liked how they explained it. I thought it was like, okay, this is pretty dope. Anyone that knows he's Spider-Man is coming in.
Right. Yeah. That was good. That was really good.
And that's a way of kind of explaining how these villains got in. Because other than, well, did Electro know that Peter was Spider-Man?
So Electro didn't know that. Yeah, Electro didn't know that. That's why I think Electro's the only one that didn't know his identity, I think.
That's why I'm a little bit iffy on why they brought in Electro. I know for movie reasons, but it is narratively because you use that explanation, fine, but he's the only one that didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure. Did Strange say anyone who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, or anyone who knows about Peter Parker, period?
No, he knows anyone who knows because that was the whole spell. The spell went crazy when the load of having to add on. Okay, she knows. She knows.
Right.
That's my only two qualms about this movie. I only had two things I'm criticizing, and in fact, the next one's coming up. So anyway,
the third one is Venom because he fits in the same category as Electro. We'll get to there.
He's in the post-credit scene, and it's hilarious. I'll explain what happens in that later because Lad had to leave, but it's so funny. But so he gets to the point. So Strange basically says, "Okay, we have to trap them, and then we'll send them out." He hasn't explained yet what happens what happens when these guys go back. So Spider-Man's suit is like, I guess, like dirty from having stuff thrown at him.
Yeah.
So we get the black suit. This is my other qualm with the movie. It's just his normal suit inside out. It's not any special suit. That's what it was. That's why there were little wires popping out. That's why there were wires popping out. I was like, oh, come on.
Don't worry, it's not the actual black suit. It was just kind of like, it was
more like I thought it was the magic suit.
It was like the magic suit. Like it was dark and gold. It had gold lines on it, kind of, didn't it?
Yeah, so I guess, but I'm like, oh, come on.
Hopefully we'll see like an actual black suit eventually.
Oh, we know we will, particularly with the post-credit scene. But anyway, so he goes out, and then we see Electro. And then we get Electro transforming into the Jamie Foxx, not the blue dude from Avatar.
Right.
Which looks way better. And he's fighting Spider-Man. And I like how Spider-Man is like FaceTiming. He has the phone taped to his chest and he's FaceTiming them so they can see where he's going. I'm like, oh, that's a cool detail because I don't know how he would do that anyway. And then it looks like Spider-Man's going to be electrocuted, and then Sandman from the Spider-Man 3 shows up, and he's a good guy because at the end of the movie, he's a good guy. He goes, hey, it's me, Kane Marco. Here, I'll go help you battle this dude.
Yeah, I really like that touch that he was a good guy during that.
So obviously they win and they teleport him out. And then this is when like Peter gets like a call that you're actually not yet. We see Green Goblin by a dumpster, and then he's having the same internal monologue that he had in the Tobey Maguire movies. Then he smashes the mask, and then we instantly have like, okay, this is why he has the cloak and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then he shows up at Aunt May's shelter, and then he's like, he's a homeless dude. He's obviously acting. I was like, okay, I see what they're doing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So And then Toby, Peter shows up. You think because I pretty much saw through it that Norman Osborn's like he's in control now. He brings him back, and then I like how you have the Norman Osborn Otto Octavius reunion because remember Otto thinks he's dead.
Yes, yeah.
So I really like that.
Right, because no one knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and then I liked how this is when Peter gets the explanation. And then the fight with Doctor Strange, which I thought was pretty cool. I liked how he went to the mirror dimension and where he uses math to beat Doctor Strange. Vlad, as an engineering student who is a self-proclaimed math lover, how does it feel knowing math beats the Sorcerer Supreme?
I'm not a math lover. I like math, but I love that they gave that little moment to Spider-Man because, Doctor Strange has all this crazy magic stuff, but then, you think, oh, magic is way better than anything else, technology. But then Spidey, he's really smart and clever. He notices that, like, the mirror dimension, all these, we see all these patterns and shapes. And he's like, oh, this pattern is actually like a fractal design of some sort.
It's geometry.
He knows, like, oh, it's geometry. Some sort of math. So he shoots the webs all in these specific places.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Love that. And he actually used like science and beat out magic.
Yeah, I love that. It showed Peter Parker's like intelligence, and I feel like that's cool. I like how they do that because every movie kind of has had that moment where they show how smart Peter Parker is. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. He beats Doctor Strange and gets out.
It makes a good explanation for like why, like, Doctor Strange has magic. He should automatically win every fight. But this was like a perfect way of making Spider-Man win without feeling like plot armor. Like he actually earned that victory.
This even kind of makes Spider-Man even more like Marvel's Batman because Batman always beats everyone because of his intelligence. Yeah. We could say because of prep time, but ultimately the prep time comes down to Batman's intelligence.
Right.
Like I really dug that. I was like, okay, that's cool. Because you wouldn't expect Spider-Man to beat Doctor Strange.
Right. And it's when he comes out of the portal, he's like, all right.
He's like, I just beat Doctor Strange. I fought Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That was so great. Yeah. That's so Tom Holland Spider-Man. And that's why I love him because he communicates that youth and like, I just found adventure and I won.
Yep. Yep.
It was kind of like Ant-Man when he fought Falcon. He's like, I just fought an Avenger.
Yeah, I know. That was great. Yeah.
So he decides, okay, I'm going to try and reform these guys. So he brings them back to the condominium. And you see them walk across the security camera. I love the detail of when Electro walked through. It kind of got all staticky for a second.
Yeah. 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 Oh, we can't forget that they said the line when he's saying like, we'll need to figure out how to do these things. And it's like, I can help you. I'm something of a scientist myself. The audience went crazy in our theater when he said that. Everyone loved that.
Yeah. Daredevil, that, and a couple of other scenes that we're getting to when they happened. The theater exploded.
Yeah, there was a lot of good audience reaction.
This is why Lad and I always try and go to these movies on opening night because you get the full experience with the fans.
Yeah, it's kind of like going with like a group of friends that you don't even know but share an interest.
And it's like even when Lad and I saw the Snyder cut, we had that experience. When the axe comes down and Superman goes not impressed, we basically reacted like going to YouTube and plug in the movie theaters when Capcom's Avengers Assembled. That was us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the Flash scene. But this isn't about the Snyder Cut as much as I love talking about that masterpiece of a film. Anyway, so they show up. I love how, first off, Sandman just sits down and proceeds to get sand all over the couch. And he's like trying to wipe it away, but more sand gets on him because he's Sandman. And then I like how... So... I like how, like, throughout the whole movie, you make it seem like Peter's making progress with reforming these villains, and you're like, who's he going to reform? And they keep doing fake outs on who these guys could be. Mm-hmm. And then I like how the first one, he basically fixes his Doc Ock, who I thought died for a second because he's like this. So I was like, oh, did he just kill Doc? Because it was a long pause too. So I'm like, did he just kill Doc Ock?
Yeah.
And then he gets up, and I love Doc Ock immediately. He's like, oh my gosh, the quiet. And that shows me, because that communicates why Doc Ock turned evil. It was the arms controlling him, because remember, the chip was so he could maintain control. Even addresses in Spider-Man 2 that there was like, okay, so if the arms are artificial intelligence, how do you know they're not going to control you? Oh yeah, it's the inhibitor chip. It keeps me in control. The chip was fried.
Execute Order 66.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. I was thinking about that too. So, but then he instantly turns good, and I was like, that was great. And then he's like, how can I help? He instantly wants to help.
Right. And I think the other villains got reassured by that. They were like willing to go along with it a bit.
And that showed that Doc Ock was not a bad guy. It basically redeemed him. In that one moment, it redeemed him in Spider-Man 2, because it shows it was the arms.
Right. Exactly. It was really great. That was a great moment. And something we need to mention is that Aunt May has a lot more screen time in this movie, where we saw in the beginning helping Peter, we're moving into a new place, trying to get the school applications in, encouraging him. And then when she helps Osborn, she says to him, she's the one who inspires him, saying, you can't just throw these people away. Like, you have to help these people. That's who you are. And he didn't want to do it at first, but then she moves him to kindness, to help these people. And how they're all screaming out, when Doctor Strange's going to send them back, they're screaming like, no, we don't want to go back. And Norman's like saying, Peter, help me, because he trusted him. And I felt that so much. And he decides to help them. And Aunt May's helping even now, even though it's a little dangerous there. She's going in and helping Peter, helping these people.
I love that. She's basically playing the Uncle Ben. Speaking of that, so speaking of Norman Osborn, so all of a sudden, Peter's working, then all of a sudden he gets like the spider sense tingle. The scene was done fantastically.
Yeah.
He walks out, and then this is one of these things is not like on the up and up. It turns out it wasn't Norman, it was Green Goblin the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this dope fight. We get Shocker and Sandman and Lizard all burst out and start a fight because sorry, Shocker, Electro. I always get those two confused.
Yeah.
Why does he have two rogues that use electricity?
Yeah.
It's like Bane and KGB. They're the same dude.
Yep.
But so we get the awesome fight. We get a pretty awesome fight scene between Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And then and then also, by the way, real quick, throughout the movie, so we see in the beginning of the movie, obviously we see J. Jonah Jameson revealing that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. You see him, he's recording in like a small room. Yeah. Then in this part of the movie, like us. Then later on in the movie, he has an entire crew and his news vans and everything. So it's like that reveal of Spider-Man made him. So I'm like, I like that small detail.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
So then this scene kind of stuck with me. So Green Goblin attacks Spider-Man, and we get sort of the automatic glider scene, only it hits Aunt May. And at first you think she's okay. And even Spider-Man's like, this is all my fault. I can't believe I trusted these people.
Right.
So then Aunt May gives them a speech, and then finally, took 3 movies to get to here, we finally get Tom Holland Spider-Man hearing, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's another part where the theater went berserk. Yeah. So it was like, he had never heard that. In the main 616 continuity, we still haven't heard a reference to Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
The only time we ever heard it was in What If Zombies.
Right.
So they make you think Aunt May's alive, and then she just collapses. And then you realize, oh no, they're killing Aunt May. And I'm like, oh. So,
really
lad,
that was really
what'd you think of them killing Aunt May?
yeah, that was really really sad. Like I think it hits it like I know Uncle Ben always hits hard seeing him die in first two versions of this, but at least that was earlier on in the movie, so you didn't connect with Uncle Ben as much. But we've seen Aunt May for so long. Like she was in Civil War. We've seen her in all the other Spider-Man movies. So her character's been around for a while, and seeing her die there was really big, really, really hurt.
And it's like she serves as the Uncle Ben death, which makes me think, what happened to Uncle Ben in this universe? Or was there no Uncle Ben? Maybe it was just Aunt May, because do we ever hear in the main MCU the reference to Uncle Ben? By main MCU, I mean not
No,
what
we see the suitcase he has in Far From Home has Ben's initials on it. Like it was Ben's suitcase, the one he takes with him to New York. So I mean that could be him, or just happens to be someone else's initials.
But in
The other
Far From
thing,
Home, in Far From Home, he goes to Europe. He goes to Europe in Far From Home, dude. Hello.
yeah. Wait.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you. All right, so yeah, so because as far as I know, besides that, there's really no reference to Uncle Ben. So I'm like, did he never exist? Do you understand what I'm saying, lad? Technical difficulties, folks. Just bear with us on this. This happens. Lad, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm a bit laggy.
All right, yeah.
A bit laggy, but
yeah. So we're having our usual technical difficulties. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, because we never saw the Uncle Ben death. The thing that led to. So it was nice to see that experience. So then it hard cuts to.
We did the only thing.
No, go ahead.
The only thing we did see in Civil War was Peter says, when you have the powers I do, and bad things happen, they happen because of you, because you didn't get involved. That was like obviously alluding to maybe Uncle Ben or something. Like he felt conflicted and motivated to fight. But now, really kind of looking at him now, I kind of feel like Uncle Ben's death wasn't like Peter's fault, like we've seen in the other Spider-Man movies, because we see how much of an impact Aunt May's death has on him. Like I feel like Uncle Ben's death, if he exists, is more of like some sort of natural death. He dies, and maybe he just feels moved to help people in Civil War because maybe someone else got hurt or something. Because I feel like if it was Uncle Ben, it would have been a much bigger moment. And you don't see like Aunt May. You see how Aunt May affects him so much here. I feel like Uncle Ben's death won't be his fault. If we see it in the TV show thing, I think it'll be something else maybe.
So then we cut to Ned and MJ. Now, so Doctor Strange had this box that basically all you have to do is press the button on the top and it'll send everyone back.
Yeah.
In case the plan doesn't work. So they see on the news that someone died and all that. And then, so Ned has Doctor Strange's ring and he goes, I wish we could see him. And they see sparks. Then he goes, and then MJ says, do that again. He goes, I wish I could see Peter Parker. The portal opens, and you see in the far distance, far yonder, Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, Spider-Man. And then wait a second.
And then I'm like, okay, they found Tom Holland. That was fast.
Yeah.
So then he turns around and starts running toward the thing. And then it starts to click in my mind, because for the longest time, movie, even the actors were like, "What you want to happen is not going to happen." Spider-Man jumps through
I'm
the
not the
portal.
werewolf, guys. I'm not the werewolf.
Yeah, I'm not in the movie. He pops through the portal. Different costumes. So I'm like, oh wait. It starts to click in my mind. I'm like, oh. I love it. Ned's mom freaks out and throws something at him. He's like, wait,
Yeah,
wait. It didn't even click with the voice. Then he takes the mask off, and it's freaking
yeah,
Andrew Garfield.
yeah. And
At that
for the
point,
last,
the theater exploded.
yeah, the theater was going crazy. That was probably the biggest reaction we heard during the night there.
Not the biggest. It came immediately afterwards, dude.
Honestly, I think the Andrew reveal had a bigger
Actually,
hype
yeah.
in our theater.
Yeah, I think in our one that was that. Because here's the thing: the Andrew reveal indicated that what comes immediately afterwards is going to happen,
Yeah,
and it didn't seem real enough until he took the mask off. Because I thought they were just going to use
yeah,
maybe the model and then do some voice acting. No. And I love they have him prove he's Peter Parker. He's like hanging on the ceiling. He's moving on the ceiling, and then his mom and Ned's grandma has him clean up cobwebs.
yeah. It's like ultimate use of spider powers.
And then he goes, okay, try it again. He's like, show me Peter Parker. Portal opens behind him.
Yeah.
And then a man in civilian clothes steps through. And then it's Tobey frickin' Maguire.
And he's like, "Sorry, I'm late, everyone. Had to beat old ladies with a stick to get it."
He goes, I had to pay rent.
Yeah, I had to pay rent.
So at this point, Vlad and I are looking at each other like, get it. It's real.
I know. It's real. It's real. And we were saying they brought them in at the perfect time because we really knew they were going to be in the movie. We really thought, but we didn't know when. And from the trailer, right? And we didn't know when, but the whole fight with Goblin and Aunt May dying and then seeing Peter devastated, that hit me with so much emotion. I had forgotten they were coming. And then when they cut to Ned and MJ, it just all of a sudden Spider-Man showed up. It was really great because with Aunt May's death, they distracted us from thinking about the other Spider-Man. So when they brought them in, it really did feel like a surprise. Like it was a really great timing. Like we didn't see it coming right there. We were already distracted.
And I love how Tobey comes in. He's so nice. He's like, hello.
Yeah,
he's even waving at the grandma.
Yeah. He's like, sorry, on mine, I just walked into your house through this. Oh, it's gone.
And then I love how when he and Andrew see each other, they like web at each other.
Yep. Yeah. He's like, wait a second. And then they like kind of like test each other. Right?
So, lad, all right. How does it feel to see Andrew Garfield in the suit again?
Right. That was really incredible. Because it also makes me realize like he's actually gotten a lot older than, not like he looks old, but he looks more mature than he looked before because he really did look very young in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and he does look more like a man now, even though it's only been 7 years. But it was such a great feeling to see him because I loved his character so much. And we're gonna have so much dialogue discussion between all three of them in a little bit.
And then, so to see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man come through that portal.
For you, yeah. How did that feel?
Oh my gosh! Because I knew it was gonna happen because of the trailer, and like there's no way they don't do this. So once again, it's like I grew up on the Spider-Man. I've been pretty clear on that. See him as Peter Parker again was pretty nuts.
Yes.
Then they find Peter on the roof of the high school because like where would he go if he has to think? And I love how Andrew and Tobey are like talking about, well, I go to this bridge, it has a better view, and then Tobey's like, oh yeah, that view is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like again, this is the first of them comparing notes to Spider-Man, and then so MJ and Ned go and find Peter on the roof, and then they're comforting him. He's like, there's these people that want to see you, and then you see them in the moonlight. in the freaking moonlight. They
Yeah.
jump down, and then they're like, "What's up?" They basically go, "Hey, everyone," kind of like in Civil War.
Yeah, everyone.
And then they have
Spider-Man.
was probably some of the best dialogue in Spider-Man because they're trying to get him to move. He's like, "I can't do this anymore. Just go back to your universe. I'm just going to hit this button." He's like, "Well, let me put it this way. I know it." They basically say, "You know." They basically say, "We know what you're going through." It's basically like in Spider-Verse when Miles' uncle is killed, and then they all go, "Hey, I know what that's like. I lost my Uncle Ben." He goes, "I lost Gwen Stacy. I couldn't save her," and I was like, "Ah."
Yeah, when they started talking about Gwen there, that really hit me hard because that was such a that moment, that loss that I feel like can never be topped, even by Aunt May's death. Like the amount of emotions that hit me with Gwen's death is like so hard to describe. Like that was hard. That
By
was
the way,
horrible.
did you see there's like a deleted scene for Amazing Spider-Man 2 where his father shows up?
Yeah, I did see that. I watched that more
I haven't watched it
recently,
yet.
and I kind of liked it. Yeah, I understand why they kind of got rid of it, but it was cool.
So anyway, then he starts saying with great power, and then they both repeat it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is
Yeah.
what we've been wanting to see for years now."
I know, it's like so wild to like think, what if we had all three Spider-Man in a movie and just like seeing it, like just like forget even like all the rest of the plot of the movie, but just like seeing the three Spider-Man we have ever known really in the last 20 years uh together is just insane. Like I don't think there's any other franchise that's gonna try to do something. It'd be like having multiple James Bond team up. I guess it's like when the Doctor teams up with his past version and it's played by a different actor. You wouldn't know, but the Doctor, he time travels, so sometimes he'll go back in time and meet the previous actor that plays him. So I think some people out there will get that feeling from this, but seeing them together was insane.
And then they go to like the lab of the high school in order to make like basically measures to cure these villains of their villainy. Then they start talking about stuff, and I love how like Ned goes, "Do you ever like a best friend on your Earth?" Toby goes, "Yeah, oh yeah, he tried to kill me. It hurt a lot." And then Ned's like, he just walks away. I love how they're talking.
And then he died in my arms.
Yeah. I love how they're like talking, how like the Spider-Man dialogue. I love when Ned goes, "Peter," and then all three of them go, "What?" He's like, "Oh no,
yeah,
you're Peter. No, you." They did the meme, dude. They did the pointing meme.
They did the pointing.
Oh man! And then so they divide up on who's going to do who. And then then one of my favorite lines, my favorite line in the movie. So Tobey Maguire comes through the portal in like civilian clothes, and Andrew Garfield asks him, "Are you gonna go into battle like dressed up, or are you gonna go as like a Christian, a cool youth pastor? Do you have a suit?"
Yeah. That was funny because he actually did kind of look like that. I thought that was pretty funny.
And he just pulls the shirt down, and then you see the inklings of the suit, and I'm like, that's when the people started cheering a little bit because. So I'm like, "Oh, we're getting it. So
then we get Superman S.
Yeah. So then they cut to the Statue of Liberty, and they're fixing Captain America's shield on it. So I'm like, "Oh, that's a nice touch." So then Spider-Man goes on J. Jonah Jameson's little podcast and basically tells the villains, "I'm here on the Statue of Liberty. Come get me." And then we get more
Iron Man style.
Yeah, we get more Spider-Man like ripping. They talk about how Toby has organic web, and they're like, "That really comes out of you?"
Yeah, that was
Does
such
it come
a great
out of
moment.
other places? Because you know where the web comes, it's supposed to anatomically come out of a spider, right?
Oh boy! Yep.
And I love how they're talking about Tom Holland's like, so what type of villains do you guys fight? And Andrew's like, I'm so lame. I fought a Russian dude in a robot rhino suit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that was
And
pretty
how
lame.
Toby tries to encourage him.
He's like,
He's
no,
like,
you're not
no,
lame.
no.
And then he goes, wait. He goes, you're amazing.
You're amazing. Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's like,
yeah.
we need to work on the self-talk a little bit, kind of like playing into the, kind of referencing the fact that Amazing Spider-Man, he's like really edgy and like he's so like sad and upset all the time. So kind of poking a little fun at that. Like the self-talk we need to work on a little bit.
Yeah, and I love how he how Toby references his Venom. He's like, I fought a goop monster from outer space, a goop alien.
Yeah.
And then Peter's like, I fought an alien from outer space too. He was purple, and I fought him on another planet.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of, I love seeing that they're all like talking about their other villains and like just chatting about it so great together.
I also love how they're talking about mutual injuries, like Andrew Garfield helping Toby like pop his back.
My back! I'm back! My back!
And then so the villains show up and we get a fight. And I like how first they showed that these Spider-Mans have no coordination. They've never fought as a team. And then and then we get another funny scene where Andrew Garfield's like, trust me, follow my lead. I fought in a team before. I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I was an Avenger. And then Tobey Maguire's like, that's awesome! What's that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second. Like, you read comic books, though.
Yeah. It's like, we've never heard of the Avengers before.
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
Yeah.
And I love, again, they do the pointing thing. And I love how Andrew Garfield goes, I love you guys.
Yeah.
And by the way, we get the scene where he's holding the pole from the leak.
Yes. Yeah. While they were talking there, that was a big moment. Like when he like talked there, and I see him kind of in the pose, like do it, and then he puts his hand up on the rail, just like we saw in the leaked video. I was like, thank you very much.
And I want to show you. I saw a video by Corridor Digital, and they have their old VFX artists reacting, and they did a video about how there's no way that could have been faked.
Yeah.
Like they did a video talking about how it's very, very unlikely that leaked footage was fake.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay,
it was good. It was good. But, I think side note, all this kind of like leaks and fake information and stuff like that really brought a lot more hype into the movie. Like, I think some of it was maybe a little intentional. Sometimes some of it was definitely an accident that got out there, but it definitely built the hype a lot without definitively saying whether they're going to be in it, because I saw a lot of people still weren't confident that they were going to show up. Like some people some people believe the leak was fake still, even though, obviously if you really look into it, it's definitely real. It definitely fooled a lot of people. So I think that built up the hype a lot, but.
Yeah, that's true. I also love, so I love how when they're coordinating, he's like, okay guys, I'm Peter 1, he's Peter 2, you're Peter 3. That's it. Let's go.
Right.
And then now they're coordinated. They put on the mask, they fly out. You get the epic music. They're swinging off of each other. And I'm like, this is another part where the theater went ballistic. And then we get the scene from the trailer where all three of them land. And I'm like, immediately I'm like, this is the trailer scene. This is the trailer scene. And then we get the I'm going to call them the Sinister Five, okay? The Five.
Yeah. Sinister Five. No Sinister Six this time around.
Yeah. They charge them. And then we get, again, the scene from the trailer. And then Lad turns to me and he goes, look at Lizard. Look at Lizard. Look at Lizard. And then we see the head.
Yeah.
The head get kicked. And I'm like, yes, I was right.
Yep. Just like we saw it in the I guess Brazilian trailer version. We see him get punched by Andrew Garfield. So that was great.
And then they fight, they start to coordinate, and then I like how they're fighting, and then Ned and MJ come through the portal and end up on the Statue of Liberty. They save Dr. Strange. He walks out and he looks super pissed, like, I've been hanging in the Grand Canyon for 12 hours. That reminded me
Yeah.
of Loki going, I've been falling for 40 minutes.
Yep.
So, Doctor Strange's like, oh, I'm glad your plan's working. All right, now I'm going to help you. He takes the box, and the box explodes. I'm speeding through a lot of this. It starts to fall apart. Then we get the other Jared prediction I was proven right on. MJ falls. Peter dives after her, and we get that scene from the trailer. Except he's knocked away by Goblin.
Yeah.
And then Andrew dives after and saves MJ. Getting
Yes.
redemption for the Gwen Stacy death.
Yes.
Glad. As a fan of Andrew Garfield, and you said you were emotionally affected by that scene from his second movie. How did that feel?
Yeah, I know. That was really great. It was fantastic just seeing like him save her and then seeing him like really happy that he saved her. Right. He's teary eyed because, with Gwen and everything. So that was a big moment. That felt like some closure there. I think for a lot of fans that felt like some closure from what happened.
And then my moment of like emotional, almost tears is when he cures Sandman, and then you get the Tobey Maguire music. And I'm like, I turn the line on, and I'm like, they're playing the freaking music.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, wait. This movie's basically a love letter to Spider-Man fandom.
Yeah, they really, really did a lot of fan service, but not in a like really like
not a bad way
where it becomes too much and it's just not good. Like I feel like there was a good balance between fan service and progressing the story for Tom Holland and the overall tone of the movie. Like the fan service was in there, but it didn't like ruin the plot and the direction of the movie. So it was great.
Then we have them trying to get Electro to like work. They're trying to drain Electro, but it's not working. So then Doc Ock shows up and stops them. So I think, Doc Ock turned evil again. Nope, he's helping them.
Yep.
And then we have a great moment. It's the reunion between Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
I love that.
And they're friends. I love that.
Yeah, I love that because Peter was friends with Doc, and so seeing him like alive and like happy was so great. Like Toby loved seeing that.
So then, and then also we get a sit down between Miles and Electro, and I loved how he basically says, "You're not a loser or a nobody. You were never a nobody." He goes, and then I love when he goes, "Under the mask, you're a kid. I thought you were black." And he goes, and he goes, "I'm all good. I'm sure in the multiverse there's a black Spider-Man somewhere." And I'm like, Miles Morales reference.
Yeah, it's funny because he mentioned that like he thought he was black, but there's actually like a comic book storyline where Peter meets this kid, and the kid is dark skinned, and he's having fun with him, and the kid actually thinks that Spider-Man is also African American, and so like he talks with him, and he doesn't reveal his face because he doesn't want to disappoint him. But this was like earlier on in the comics, so I got a little bit of remember that a little bit, and I thought it was a kind of a cute moment.
Yeah, it was so good. And then I loved how
because remember Max loved Spider-Man. Remember he like had a cake and he like said like Spider-Man celebrating my birthday. Like he was like obsessed with Spider-Man before he got zapped. So I loved it because he's the only one who didn't know Peter's identity, like we mentioned in the beginning. But that was a great moment.
And then I liked how they see like the lizard and they cure the lizard, and we get the actual actor instead of just the voice. We also get the actor for Sandman, so they're there. They're in the scene. And then it looks like everything's hunky-dory, and then Green Goblin blows up the box that's contained the spell, so the world's starting to fall apart. He cuts off one of Doc Ock's arms, but then Peter like straight up attacks him, and then beats the crap out of him to the point where he is raising up the Goblin glider, about to impale him with it. And then who should stop him? Tobey Maguire. Because
Yeah.
another scene that I love, when they first meet, Toby tells Tom, I don't want you to end up like me, because he and Andrew both say, basically after our movie end, we got super dark and started beating up on people. They basically became Punisher Spider-Man. So he's like, we want you to be a better version of us. So I was like, I like that a lot. And then Toby gets stabbed.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh no. Are they going to kill Tobey Maguire? Because I saw the leaked photos of like a Spider-Man on the floor. So I was like, oh no. Are they going to kill him? They don't.
Yeah, I
So
actually
I'm
thought
like, okay,
he was
thank you.
gonna die.
They don't. So I'm like, oh, thank you. It puts more respect to the character too, because it would cheapen the characters like showing up if he just died.
Yeah.
So then we get, so then they beat Green Goblin, they heal him. And then Doctor Strange is like, hey, I can't hold it together. So then the only way that they can keep the multiverse together is for Peter to tell Doctor Strange, okay, do the original spell. He goes, understand that this will eliminate Peter Parker from like people's memories. They'll be like, you never existed. They'll still remember Spider-Man, but they won't remember you. So Tom Holland has to say goodbye. So go ahead.
He actually has to he kind of wants to do the original spell, but he actually has to go beyond it. Like he actually has to erase anyone who ever knew Peter ever existed. Like basically Peter will have never existed, like Men in Black style. Like no one will have any recollection of who Peter is, but they'll know who Spider-Man is and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was freaking nuts. And then it happens, and he says goodbye to Ned and MJ. Webs away, and then I love before he leaves Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange goes, "Call me Steven."
Yeah,
like that final moment, and then he leaves. The spell happens, and then it cuts to Tom Holland at Aunt May's like gravestone. Actually, it cuts to J. Jonah Jameson. He's back in the small studio, and he's like, "If Spider-Man was really a brave person, he'd tell us who he is."
Yeah,
and then. Then Peter's at the gravestone. We see Happy show up, but Happy again doesn't know who Peter is. He's like, "How'd you know her?" And then Happy and Peter goes, "I knew him through Spider-Man." And he goes, "So did I." So, and then they go through the whole speech. Happy leaves. Peter leaves, and then he finds out where MJ and Ned are, and this is interesting. He doesn't reveal who he is to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he promised to do that.
I think he definitely saw he needed the time to build it up. Like he definitely felt he needed to wait to do it.
Do you think he's going to do it in future movies?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what they're hinting at. That they want to save that for a future movie. That he's going to have to work on getting his friends back. His entire life, like everything. Like his relationships, his family, everyone's gone. And you even notice, like, when he walks into his apartment, he puts down a pile of books, and one of them is a GED book, like the test out of high school, because, like, he doesn't have any, I imagine, no school records, he doesn't exist, like, in the US or anything like that. So he has to, like, GED test through high school so he can apply to colleges.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed that. And then he has the Darth Sidious Lego figure from Homecoming, and I'm like, oh man. Yep. Oh yeah. I also want to go back to the scene I missed where they're showing the montage of him receiving the school acceptance letters. He's doing the Death Star, and the robot arm just knocks it over. The entire theater going, oh, like, no, not again. Yeah. And then we're showing him establishing his life as Spider-Man. Then we get his new suit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the classic suit. Red, blue, red spider, black spider. And it's of his own making. They show him with the sewing machine. So this was the big criticism of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, in that Tony Stark basically made everything for him. This is the first time he's made his own stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the movie ends, and then we get to the post-credit scene where Venom is at a bar. It's Tom Hardy. Venom's at a bar. This is so good. He's having the bartender explain to him who the Avengers are. He goes, "Okay, so in this world, there's all these different super people. There's like a dude that flies around in a tin suit, and he's like, oh yeah, Iron Man. And then he goes, there's a green rage monster. Oh yeah, Hulk. And then Venom pipes in and goes, and you thought the Lethal Protector's name was stupid."
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, Venom. So you know how they sent like the other Spider-Man, the villains away. Then Venom is teleported back to his universe, but
Yeah.
a small piece of the symbiote is left behind, and it starts to move. That's hinting symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get We'll get NMCU Venom.
Yeah. That's definitely what they hinted at.
That's the first post-credit
really
scene. The second one is the trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, in that we finally get who is his friend who was like training him in Doctor Strange. It wasn't like, and I don't mean Wong. Who's the other guy?
Oh, Mordo.
Mordo comes back in this.
Yeah.
Back in this, he's basically explained to Strange, you're a threat and all that stuff. And then it shows, yeah, they're gonna fight each other. But it turns out Wanda's on the side of Strange. He goes to Wanda and saying, I need your help. It's not Wanda that's screwing it up. There you go, you ready for this? It's the what if Doctor Strange that's the antagonist.
Really?
Is the evil what if Doctor Strange. I'm like, yes! Because Mordo goes. Well, actually, the biggest threat in the multiverse is yourself. And I'm like, oh! Then they show him. He's not really good. He wasn't really good, if you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Well, I thought he kind of joined the multiverse Avengers, you know.
But so did Killmonger, and he turned out to be a bad guy.
Oh, that's true. I guess they didn't want to destroy the universe, but they still were kind of like evilish and stuff.
Yeah. So that's the post-credit scenes, and I'm like, first off, Wanda's not the bad guy, apparently. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They even mentioned WandaVision, and Wanda goes, I know I screwed up, and I know that people got hurt. And he goes, I'm not here about that, Wanda. I need your help with something. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends.
Nice.
So, general thoughts of the Spider-Man movie. Oh my gosh. And we know that we're getting more Spider-Man movies. We know we're getting at least three other movies. So, yeah, it's very conceivable that he could do the reveal. It gives Spider-Man more control over who he reveals his identity to as well.
Yeah. It's kind of like, a little bit of like a breathing space. Like now they can have a new stepping stone to continue Peter's journey. Like they can really move in a new direction. They can do some fresh stuff because his identity's completely hidden again. He's lost everything, so now they can build it up from ground zero again, starting just with the core of who Peter is. So that'd be really exciting.
Yeah, I really dig that. So
the one thing I thought was funny is that means Vulture doesn't know his identity anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true. Wait a second. That is actually very true. I like that. That's interesting.
Which kind of makes me sad because I kind of want to see him show up again in another movie because he was not really evil, and he knows Peter's identity. But now they can't do that because he forgot it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
because magic.
It's okay.
Yeah, so one of the things I liked about this movie is that they explain the multiverse in such an easy to understand way. Because that was my concern with Marvel and DC to an extent. Really investing heavy in the multiverse because it's a really complicated concept. We did an episode about it too. So I'm glad they were able to do it in the way they did.
Yeah. Although my one gripe is that I hope they don't lean on it too much being just connected to magic, because I feel like the tech science side behind it is also super exciting, because we've seen that like in Star Trek before, and we've seen it in the Spider-Verse where the multiversal travel is a tech-based thing too. So if they ever
sure.
explore this again after Doctor Strange, I definitely want to see a tech-based version of it, just so it doesn't feel like it's too made up and stuff. But they did explain it well.
I don't think they're doing. They're solely magicifying the multiverse and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I highly doubt they're doing that. I think they're just using him for the story. And they just happen to be using him because right now he's the most powerful being that could help out in this situation, him and Wanda.
What about Captain Marvel? She's pretty powerful, Jared.
Don't bring up Brie Larson. Anyway.
I like Captain Marvel. We stand Captain Marvel on this podcast. Captain Marvel fans forever.
I can mute you.
This is the official opinion of the podcast.
Lad, where does this rank among the Spider-Man movies for you?
Okay,
and this includes Spider-Verse.
Oh, that's tough to say. I mean, it's definitely the best Tom Holland movie. Definitely best Tom Holland movie.
I would argue it's the best MCU
so much
movie.
Good stuff in this. Like, I would definitely put it up there in the MCU. Like, really, really highly ranked. It has so much good stuff in it. Oh man, it's so hard to rank them now because there's just been so many good movies. I really have a tough time ranking them. But like, Into the Spider-Verse was just so special. The medium, the art style, the animation has such a special place in my heart that it's so hard to top that, honestly, even though we may see it top soon in the sequel. But, man, this movie was so hype. Like, I may like it a little bit more than the actual Amazing Spider-Man movies. Maybe just a little bit, just because I got to see so much of the characters come back, that this might be my favorite Spider-Man movie. But it's kind of hard to say, because I still do like a story where it's Spider-Man versus a singular villain that has his own character arc. But seeing them all together like this was just so hard to resist. Like, this movie was fantastic. I put it up there really high.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, thank you. This movie is my favorite MCU movie ever. That's it. It's up there.
Favorite MCU movie.
And I think it had the better portal scene comparing it to Endgame, because of what I get. It was cool seeing all of the heroes show up, but what this portal scene represented, it beats the hell out of the Endgame portal sequence.
Yeah, this movie had insane. It's 20 years history of Spider-Man on theater screen. It's the entire cinematic history of Spider-Man in the last 20 years. 3 actors, and seeing them all in this movie was insane. No other franchise, I think, has ever been able to pull that off in a way like this, where they bring it all together, like Batman in the Flash movie, where they're going to have, a past version return. Although maybe we'll see the Batman interacting, maybe not, but that'll be at least a little bit similar to this. But
it's confirmed we are going to
Spider-Man
see that.
is now. That's okay. Good. But Spider-Man will definitely be remembered as the first time that they ever pulled this, where they brought in multiple actors of the same character and had them in the same movie together, and was really hyped.
Also, I mean, let's see, what was he gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say, but anyway. So yeah, I definitely agree with you, and it's like, it's. Oh, I remember what I want to say. I like how they also treated the other movies like they still happened. It's not like they just brought in this older and slightly younger Spider-Man, and it's just like an Easter egg that it's Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. No, their movies still happen.
Yeah, like it had weight, and they even they acknowledge that it's been a little bit of time passed since we last seen them. They've aged, and they made sure they were careful not to give us too many details, but they did hint at a little bit of what they've been doing since then. Like how when Toby says that his relationship with MJ is kind of complicated. He's working through things, and he said to Doc Ock that he's trying to do better. Like he's fixed a lot of things in his life. Some sort of gets that vibe. And Andrew mentions that he doesn't really have time for a girlfriend. Like he's never really made room in his life for anyone else. But like I guess Gwen really impacted him losing her, and he's never really opened up to anyone else since then. So they kind of leave. They tell us what they've been up to without telling us a little too much, because maybe anything's possible if we ever got like people want an Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie, so that could be possible, right?
Yeah, because Sony's largely in charge of Spider-Man movies. So can you imagine if they announced Amazing Spider-Man 3? They already announced Spider-Man 4, so they're definitely making another Tom Holland movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yes. And then also, they could bring in a Gwen Stacy, because he's going to college, and make Gwen Stacy a college romance.
Yeah.
Like an actual MCU
like,
Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, and that would be really, really interesting to see, Yeah, I really want to see college Spider-Man. I want to see him continue his journey in that. I had one thing I wanted to mention real quick. We're running towards the end of our show here, but there's one thing I have to mention. If everyone knows who Spider-Man is still, right? Everyone knows the things Spider-Man done. Like they know he fought against Thanos, and people will still remember that Spider-Man fought against Mysterio and stuff. And he's a celebrated superhero, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. Doctor Strange has met Spider-Man before, and Doctor Strange will remember teaming up with Spider-Man to defeat the Thanos and during the Endgame and stuff. So Peter could still go to Doctor Strange, ask Spider-Man, and say, "Oh, by the way, here's my identity. I'm Peter Parker. You may not remember me exactly, but we actually knew each other. You threw a whole spell on it." So he could start regrowing relationships by revealing his identity to certain people again. Like other Avengers.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Be like,
yeah, because all it does, it doesn't eliminate Spider-Man as a character. It just eliminates Peter Parker.
Yeah. Right. And it's funny because remember, like in Infinity War and Endgame, Peter went around like introducing himself. "Hi, I'm Peter," to everyone, giving away his identity to the other heroes.
I love. "Hi, I'm Peter. Oh, I'm Stephen Strange. Oh, we're using our made-up names. Well, I am Spider-Man."
Just like, what was your name again? Dr. Otto Octavius.
And they start laughing.
Okay, what's your real name?
I love that, Dr. Otto Octavius. Like, really? That was great.
Yeah.
All right, now, lad, out of 10, how do you rate this movie?
Easy 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no denying it. Everything about this movie is fantastic. I was concerned that with all the villains and the other two Spideys, that Tom wouldn't get his own storyline. But he has the best, like, this is his best storyline he's had yet, where he grows the character and is put through, like he said, some of the hardest circumstances he's ever been through as Spider-Man in this movie. He grows from it, losing Aunt May and losing his entire life. Like, he literally lost everyone and everything, and he's able to pull through that and keep going. Literally one of the best character developments of Tom Holland. And I think I can really say that, like, he's not just relying on other heroes anymore, just on Iron Man. He's not just carried along through money and through circumstances. He never has hardships. No, he's actually been through a lot now, and I'm really enjoy his character.
Yeah,
Best
that's
movie,
fantastic.
definitely 10 out of 10. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for what happens next, particularly for Spider-Man. It's gonna be it's a really good time to be a Spider-Man fan. And I love how immediately they put the suits in the PS5 game, and I'm like, I can't play that.
Yeah.
I mean, let me put it this way. And then I remember, oh yeah, I can just play Halo Infinite. So I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. Because we got a lot of stuff. We got Spider-Man. No Way Home. We have potentially a new college trilogy with Tom Holland. We have the animated Spider-Man show to show his early years. We have Spider-Man in the Avengers game. We have the Spider-Man PS5 sequel game coming out with Miles and the two of them together
Against Venom.
Against Venom, and we have Across the Spider-Verse parts 1 and 2, which are going to be insane. Like, we have so much Spider-Man content coming out right now that it is literally the best time to be a Spider-Man fan. There's so much good stuff, so much hype. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, so great. Particularly, yeah, exactly for you, because you're like the biggest Spider-Man fan I think on the channel.
Yeah, Spider-Man definitely probably my number one favorite superhero. I love him. He's so cool. He's great.
That's great because yeah, he is a fantastic character, and basically there wouldn't be an MCU if it were not for those Spider-Man or early Spider-Man movies. When you think about it,
yeah, you're right. The Spider-Man movies really set the new tone for superheroes. The X-Men movies also were around that time, but these Spider-Man was like a big change of pace of how superhero movies were going to be like, and really started off this trend of popular superhero movies in the modern day. Obviously, Batman, Superman are classic ones that made popular, but Spider-Man is like a modern day revival, I feel, of that fandom.
And did you know that Andrew Garfield was supposed to be the MCU Spider-Man, but what happened is that I think he was late for like a meeting because he was sick, and the executives felt disrespected, so they fired him.
Yeah, I heard about all that, and like how actually Kevin Feige and Sony were talking about it, and Feige recommended maybe a new actor if they were going to bring in Spider-Man into the MCU, but Andrew could have been in the MCU. They could have been more sequels. There's supposed to be an expanded universe centered around Spider-Man, about Sinister Six and Venom and Black Cat, all this. But then, obviously, like he missed the meeting. I know that's what they say, but I have to believe that they were planning on firing him anyway. They were just looking for an excuse. That feels like so fickle thing to fire him over.
Yeah,
but also,
I
Amazing
agree.
Spider-Man 2 didn't do that well, and people didn't like the Goblin thing. So, yeah. But what could have been, there's always hope for, hey, anything's possible. We live in a post-Snyder Cut, post-3 Spideys together.
Yeah, exactly.
So anything is possible. Amazing Spider-Man 3, let's get the hype. I want Amazing Spider-Man 3, please, everyone.
Now, lad, we're at the end of the year now. Let's do a quick recap on the content that we got this year. We started off with the frickin' Snyder Cut,
Yes.
Halo Infinite,
Yep.
and this. We get the return of Andrew and Toby.
Yep. And
I
we
don't
finally-
count the
Black Widow
Eternals
finally
or
gets-
Shang-Chi. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and Black Widow finally gets her own movie, even though she's already dead. But she finally gets her rightly deserved movie. That was good. I really liked their movie.
I liked it. There were some major areas, in addition to Taskmaster, that I had some major issues with. But besides that, it was a very enjoyable. Eternals was meh. Shang-Chi was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I still need to check that out eventually. But yeah,
It's on
that's
Plus,
true.
so you can watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. And obviously, we got a ton of Marvel TV shows that came out this year. I really want to check out Hawkeye still. I need to do that. That's on my top of my list right now. We got Black Widow and Hawkeye both like what 10 years almost.
Yeah, almost 10 years. It's crazy. So yeah, so that's what we got, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our review. If any of you subscribed to the channel because of this episode, we appreciate you. If not, please consider doing so. It helps us. It really helps the independent channels rise up in the YouTube ranks. I'm sorry, Lai, do you have a point?
No. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe so you can keep checking us out, and it helps build. It helps motivate us to keep going. If we love it when people leave comments, and we'll get into a discussion, even if it's like something to criticize us, because then it helps us grow and it opens conversation up to talk about what your point of view is compared to ours.
Yeah, even if you want to criticize Lad for having BS views, that's besides the point.
Or want to criticize Jared for having Superman and Wonder Woman views.
That's not a criticism. That's actually a compliment. I appreciate that. Thank you. So anyway,
I saw a lot of people criticizing you. There was someone named Lad_1 criticizing you, and Lad_2. Also, I saw leave a comment recently about you. Some people that I know, I think.
And there was Jared_1 that were like, "You guys are idiots," followed by Jared_2. So anyway, all right. So stay tuned next week for X-Men. We're gonna build our own X-Men movie universe. In other words, what I did for last week's Under Two Capes for the X-Men, and then for Halo, we're gonna conjecture. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And as a sneak preview, we're just gonna let you know that we are centering the cinematic universe, the X cinematic universe, around Jubilee as the main character of it. So really look forward to that one.
Lad. It's all right. And then we're actually gonna do like the same thing for the Halo show too, or actually we'll do a different thing for the Halo show. We're gonna conjecture as to what we think the next like Halo game is gonna be about and what the Halo TV show is gonna be about. And then in terms of the Star Wars show, we're going to start doing that again. And we're going to end up talking about like what we would want to see in like a Knights of the Old Republic show or something like that. We're still planning out what we want to do for that show. Regardless, we will have content coming to the channel next week. A lot more content. So be on the lookout for that. Like, comment, subscribe. And obviously, Lad, always welcome to come on. Now that we're both done with school.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to arrange my schedule so definitely we're gonna try to work it out so we can both get in sync on that. Maybe next episode I might be in the studio, right? For the next episode we're gonna record.
Absolutely.
Depending on when we release that. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, and follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Comics League 2021, and then we are, and then email us at comicsleague2020@gmail.com, and then reach out to the website on comicsleague.com. All the links are in the description of this episode and in the audio version. And I guess that's a good place to leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Have a good weekend. Have a happy holidays and happy web swinging. Stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya.